Right. Welcome to Behind the Streams STEAM Discovery with Netflix. I just want to briefly introduce myself and welcome you all in. My name is Adrienne Pruzinski. I'm the founder and program director for StarTech Global Academy, which is a nonprofit dedicated to STEM diversity. We're the ones bringing you Behind the Streams STEAM Discovery with Netflix. Now, Behind the Streams is a series of free workshops for teens to discover STEAM education and Netflix career pathways, plus the resources to get you there. Now, you may be wondering, what exactly is STEAM? Now, STEAM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Math, STEM with the addition of arts. Now, when we say arts here, we mean the ways in which technology and STEM are used in the arts. For example, this presentation was made on a digital design app. Part of what we hope you'll find interesting today is all the unique ways that STEAM is used in different types of careers. Now, before we dive in, I want to cover some Zoom etiquette real quick. If you look in the bottom left corner of the Zoom window, you should see a microphone with a line through it. It looks like this. It means you're muted. We'd like everyone to stay on mute if you're virtual, at least until the Q&A part. But you're all welcome to use the chat feature. That's in the bottom of your window. Also, you'll see the chat icon. If you are joining us virtually, go ahead and click the icon and say hi when the chat box pops up. And then for your view, at the top right of your window is the view icon. There's the side-by-side speaker view, which will help you see best who's speaking. Then there's the standard view, which shows the presentation with participant cameras on the top. And finally, the side-by-side gallery view, which shows the presentation with the cameras on the side. Last but not least, just a friendly reminder that we are recording the sessions and translating them into other languages. So community members who aren't here can still get all this awesome information. So if you know someone who might be interested, but they couldn't attend the workshops, you can always share the recordings with them once we post them. And now for those of you at the location, hopefully you are enjoying free pizza. You may also know that the first 10 participants to sign up and complete the workshop's exit survey win a $25 Amazon gift card. We're going to email that gift card, so we do need your email address. If you've already signed up on the website, you're good to go. We got your email, we'll match it to the survey at the end of the workshop, so definitely stay for that survey. If you have not signed up, no worries. Please just enter your email into the chat box if you're virtual. If you're not, again, just stay for that exit survey because we get your email in the exit survey. For those of you who don't win, all participants can pick up swag packs at the location. And then here's our agenda for today. We've already covered the intro and the Zoom etiquette. Other topics are why STEAM from our workshop leads, a Netflix STEAM story with our special guest speaker, a Q&A panel with our special guest speaker and the workshop leads. And then finally, we'll finish with a very brief exit survey, which helps us improve the workshops, find out if you'd like to be matched with a STEAM mentor, and it also helps us get grants to keep these workshops free. And of course, that is, again, how you get your gift certificate. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to my workshop leads, Zeva, Kira, and Inovi.
Hello, everyone. My name is Zeba Kachi. I am lead intern for this workshop. I am from Seattle, Washington. I went to Taiyi High School. My dream is to become a doctor. I got interested in STEM when I was doing voluntary work at hospital in high school. Left picture you see is me doing volunteering at hospital where I found my dream. Right picture is me presenting at T-Mobile during my field trip. In my free time, I like to cook and binge watch Netflix a lot. With that, I will pass it over to Kiara, our IT intern.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Zeba. So my name is Kira. I am the tech intern here at StarTech Global Academy. I'm currently a computer science student studying at Olympic College in Bremerton. And then once I'm done in Olympic, I'm going to transfer to a 4U university to get my bachelor's degree. And my goal one day is I want to become a mathematics professor. You know, I think there needs to be more good ones that actually help people. So yeah, I want to make software. I want to make education software. That's my jam. You'll also see I got my husky puppy Lucy here. When I'm not studying, we're usually going to the beach, going on road trips. She's my travel buddy. So yeah, that's me. It's my STEAM story, and I will pass it on over to Anobi.
Thank you, Kira. Hello, everyone. My name is Enofi. I'm the workshop assistant intern. I am currently a psychology major at Seattle University, and I am a junior there. So I started out with my STEAM career when I was like about 10 years old. I did like a workshop at Boeing and did like many STEAM workshops, just how you guys are doing now. Just kind of like getting interested in what you might want to do one day. And so I also, in my high school, went to Garfield High School, and I did the Running Start program. So I went to Seattle Central College, and I got into my interests within the field of psychology. And so I also got mentorship through a program called Y Scholars, which is that organization up there, and then as well as the College Success Foundation. And both of those programs just helped me with mentorship and resources, but also with scholarships to help pay for college. And so down here in the right corner, you'll see a kid who's like, she has a vision, so I hope to become a child psychologist. So yeah, that's my dream one day. And then outside of school and outside of studying, I enjoy dancing, and here's a picture of me and my dance team. Thank you, and I will turn it back to Zeba.
Thank you, Novi. So now you guys might be wondering, why STEAM? So there are hundreds of different STEAM careers. We will explore some of them today. There are also many different pathways to a career in STEAM. You can choose the one that fits you best. Something to note is that in the US, STEAM jobs are growing at twice the rate of non-STEAM jobs. There will be jobs waiting for you in STEAM when you finish your schooling. Also in the US, the average pay for the STEAM job is twice as much as the average pay for non-STEAM jobs. So now let's play a little game. When you hear STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, what careers come to mind? Let's see what careers we can guess today. You can use the chat box to enter your guesses if you're virtual, or if you're in person, share your guesses with our workshop leads. Oh, Adrian said programmer. Anyone in person have any guesses? Cybersecurity. Thank you, Inovi.
Anybody else? Anybody else got any guesses? Film? Yeah, there's tons in film. Okay. Yeah, programming. Yeah. Architect? Yep, absolutely. Anybody else got any others? Okay.
Caleb said cybersecurity. Enrique said film. Any more guesses? No? Okay, thank you for sharing, guys. So many wonderful, great guesses. Thank you, Kara. So many great guesses. One thing to note is that STEAM is diverse. It's not just scientists and engineers, it's so much more. This top image shows a man and a woman in a biotech lab, very sciencey. This bottom image shows a man and a woman in a music studio, and they are using DJ mixing equipment. These are both STEAM careers. Now, there are hundreds of STEAM careers. Today, we just wanted to try to highlight a range of careers to get your wheels turning on what's possible. Now, here are some science-based careers related to health and wellness. Dentistry, nursing, pharmacy and medicine, lab technician, counseling and psychology, physical therapy and fitness. Other science pathways include the nature and life sciences, ecology and land stewardship, zoologist, forestry, environmentalism, veterinarian, technology and business, game developer, website or app developer, IT system and security manager, development operation and business operation, digital marketing. So the cyber security and programmer might something related to this pathway. Media and arts, graphic designer, multimedia artist, digital animator, multimedia creative director. Now there is something fun also. Like Enrique said, film, which will count in entertainment and audio-visual pathway. Director of photography, videographer, visual effects technician, audio engineer. Another cool thing about STEAM is there are multiple pathways to get to the career you want. Virtually all of the careers require a high school diploma or GED, so that's step one. With 1 or 2 years of education or training after high school, you will usually end up with a certificate or associate's degree. 4 years gets you a bachelor degree, 6 to 12 years gets you a master's or doctoral degree. Now, 12 years might seem like a long time, but that's time going to pass anyway. Where do you want to be in 12 years? What do you want to be doing? How do you want to be spending your time? The key is to figure out what you're interested in and see what careers there are, then start down that path. And hey, don't worry about how to pay for your education. There are always scholarships, grants, and student loans that will help you cover the cost. At the end of the workshop, we will connect you with a resource guide that will help with tutoring, scholarships, and more. Another great thing about STEAM is the job pays pretty darn well. We like to call it a family wage, meaning you can live on it and support a family. Each of those career fields has a way to get into it with a shorter path, medium path, and longer path. Usually the longer paths pay more, but not always. There are some 2 year paths like information security or business operation that pays as much as other 6 to 12 year paths. We are talking $25 to $45 an hour. So it really depends on the specific career. So key takeaways. First, there are many diverse careers in STEAM, all the way from engineers at Boeing or SpaceX to life science and multimedia artist. Second, multiple pathways to each career field. On average, careers in STEAM require 1 year to 12 years. But time is going to pass anyway. So where do you want to be? And third, if you put it all together, it's really about finding something you are interested in, choosing a pathway, and let that lead you to a career in STEAM. Lastly, it's important to remember that any job also has ongoing training and education, so you can always switch pathways or careers, or you change your mind. Now, I want to show you the resource guide I mentioned earlier. We are creating a guide for each workshop location with a list of local resources, including advising, tutoring, computer labs, study bases, free Wi-Fi and food, workshops, and so much more. You can find this all information via the link at the bottom of the page. If you ever forget it, you can always just go to steamdiscoveryproject.org. I will also put the link into the chat for our virtual people. The resource guide, when you go to the website, the resource guide links will be there in the menu. Here is an example of what the resource guide looks like. You can click on the location of your choice. For those of you at Rainier Beach Community Center, you would click the South Shore link to find resources near you. And it will take you to a customized list of support resources curated just for you. Now we have our Netflix guest speaker. Before we will move on to our Q&A panel, your chance to win more gift certificates. Our guest speaker today is Tara Ellis, an engineering manager in animation studio and production engineering.
I think I take over the screen now. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Let's see. Oh my goodness, it's not letting me do it. Second. Of course it's not. We did this and it's still not letting me do it. Hold on 1 second. Okay, give me 2 seconds. It's making me, I'm not sure why. It's making me quit and I will come right back in.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
All right. And can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yay! Okay. There's a thing in tech that's always beware live demos. So we gonna go. There we go. All right. Hello everyone. My name is Tara Ellis, and I am an engineering manager at Netflix. I've been at Netflix for about almost 6 years, and I'm currently working on the animation studio side, where I and my team build tools and software and kind of production management pieces for artists and our artist managers and editors and people who work on animation. So I was going to spend a little time telling you all about my journey here today. And I think probably a little differently than some stuff I was going to focus on maybe earlier career and how I ended up getting into STEM, because I've taken a very non-traditional route, which we'll definitely talk about, which I'll share. So this is my background here. I'm sorry for 1 second. Do you guys, I see there's like a menu on the slides. Do you see that menu or no? You just see the slides?
Oh,
Okay.
I just see the slides.
All right, good. Because I was like, there's a menu there that looks weird. So yeah, so I have been in the tech field for many, many years, since the late 90s, as a matter of fact, dating myself a bit. But I choose to start at 2002 because that's when I started working for companies that most of you would recognize. So from 2002 to 2009, I worked at Amazon as an engineer, where I did many, many things in the time that I was there. But one of the big things that I did that I feel the most proud about was I worked on kind of rebuilding and restructuring the entire navigation for the Amazon.com website, which when I started in 2002 was thousands of pages that were just kind of one-offs, and we figured out how to programmatically um, reduce that number and have them kind of get built on the fly. So there was a time, or there was a 4-year stretch where every single person who came to Amazon.com went through code that I wrote, which is, I felt pretty proud about that. Then I worked at Disney for 5 years, and specifically the parks organization, which meant I got to go to Disney World and Disneyland for free as many times a year as I wanted to. I think I'm the only person in the world who probably got sick of going to Disney because I went all the time. But there, some of the things I worked on that you may have interacted with is if you've ever logged into the Disneyland or Disney Parks website, if you've ever used a Magic Band to get into the park or to pay for anything, or built an itinerary or anything like that. My team built all of that stuff. We basically managed the reservation service for all of Disney parks. And then most recently, like I said, I've been at Netflix, where I initially started out managing a payments team. So if you're actively paying for Netflix, you will have gone through some of the code that my team has written. And that was, as I like to joke, we're the money. So that was definitely a very fun job. And I did that for 4 years before moving over to the studio side and working more with animation artists, because how often do you get an opportunity to do something like that? So, so as an engineering manager, as opposed to a developer, I'm kind of responsible for quite a few different things. And I wanted to explain a little bit about what it is that I do. So this is, oh man, I can't see that part of the slide. So basically, I manage, direct, plan, coordinate work for my engineers. Currently, I have a team of 10. I've before had 3 or 4 teams of about 27 people directly reporting to me. That's a lot, but basically it's being responsible for kind of all of their work. And it's broken into 3 specific tiers of work that I do. Some is called people management, where I'm helping my engineers figure out their own career goals, helping evaluate their performance, help coach them, help prioritize the work that they're going to be working on, and just basically kind of be like a coach for them. Some of the other things I do, the second tier is project management. So we work on things on a project basis. So when we build something, let's say the skip intro button, right, for Netflix, when they built that, somebody came up with the idea, and we spent some time kind of building it out and then testing it on a schedule, right? And so that project management piece is really trying to figure out, what are we going to do? When are we going to do it? How long is it going to take? And who are the people who should work on it? And doing that across all of the other leaders in the space. And then the last pillar of work that I do is more technical management. And at a place like Netflix mostly hires senior engineers. So I do a little less of this than I have in other roles, but in a lot of companies I've worked with, I've had engineers who were just really junior out of college, their first job, all the way up to engineers who've been building software for 20 plus years. So it really is about trying to provide whatever technical decisions or solutions or strategy or design that I need to do to kind of help them. So these are pretty much the day-to-day things that I do. There's not a one size fits all. It's a very as I like to call it, kind of a glue position. You kind of fill in where you need to be in. So before I became a manager, though, I was, of course, a software engineer. And I wanted to spend most of my time today kind of talking with you guys about how I got there, because, as I had mentioned before, I took a very non-traditional route. I did go to college. I do have a degree, but I do not have a degree in computer science. I did not major in CS. I'm what one would call a completely self-taught engineer. And so I like to kind of point this out because, there's more than one way to do it, as they would say. And so by self-taught, what I mean is I basically ended up getting my computer science education on my own through books and work experience and working with strong mentors who kind of helped grow me and getting opportunities to do this kind of professionally. So it's not the most traditional path, but it is a path that actually exists and it's possible. And so I kind of wanted to share that with you guys. So starting at the beginning, I did not grow up in Seattle, unfortunately, but I did spend 14 years of my life in Seattle, mostly bouncing between the neighborhoods of different parts of Capitol Hill and then Judkins Park, where I lived for 4 years, and then kind of back to the Hill before I moved to the Bay Area. I love Seattle. Before COVID, I came back once a quarter to get my hair done. My hairdresser's still in Seattle. I very much consider it kind of my second home, and so I'm excited to be talking with you guys here. But I actually grew up in Marsville, Pennsylvania, which is this tiny little town. I put a little like marker there because you would never find it. It's about 2 square miles. It's about 9,000 people, and it sits on the Delaware River across the state from Trenton, New Jersey, which is the capital of New Jersey. And there's not a lot there. It's not a big town, but it is about 15 miles north of Philadelphia. So there was one big city. I guess maybe it would be the equivalent of like not Tukwila. I'm trying to think where, like even more south than that. Anyway, so that's where I grew up, and grew up there, went to school, was in a gifted program at school. I had a really strong facility for language, reading comprehension, writing, all of that stuff. It was great, but I really struggled with math. And this is basically what I looked like most of the time in most of my math classes. I was actually in the accelerated math courses. And so I would do really well on my homework and do the lessons, and all of that would be great. And then I would take a test and I would completely kind of have a meltdown and just did not do well. And it took a while. My math teachers and my mom, they could not figure out what they're like. Clearly she understands because she's able to do the homework and do this work. But then, we get into a testing situation and I was kind of falling apart. So what we eventually discovered, I ended up getting tested. It turned out that I had some pretty severe test anxiety. And so whenever I would basically get a sheet of math problems, like my brain would go blank, and I really struggled to kind of put everything together. I'm not sure if it was the pressure. I'm not sure exactly what it was. I'm not sure if any of you suffer from test anxiety, but it was much better once we figured out what was going on, because then accommodations were made for me. And so one of the things that my teacher would do was, instead of when we would take a test, instead of being given a whole sheet of paper, I would be given like one problem at a time, right? And so like that was enough to not trigger the anxiety, and then I could work through the problem. So it was great. So I ended up kind of completing my math requirements by my junior year of high school. And so my senior year, I decided to take calculus, even though I didn't need to take it. And I took calculus, and it was awful. And I did not enjoy it. And I found myself once again kind of banging my head against the wall. And I had this realization that, oh, I have fulfilled my requirements. I don't actually have to take this course. So I ended up dropping calculus. And that experience ended up giving me one of my first really important life lessons that I've taken with me throughout my journey. And that is the importance of application. And what I mean is I dropped calculus, but I kept physics. I was taking physics and I was taking advanced chemistry. And you need calculus to do physics. So it turns out when I could apply the math, right, then it made sense to me. So I kind of ended up teaching myself calculus through the physics class. And that was such a crucial thing for me to learn about how I learn kind of going forward in my life. So I'll have a slide at the end, which is like the key takeaways. But one of the first key takeaways is like understanding kind of how you learn and what works for you, and not moving away from that, you know, and trusting that process. So finished my high school career, ended up going to college where I, you know, was going to major in computer science, and totally I'm lying. I did major in computer science at all. I majored in international studies and German because I wanted to be a lawyer. Actually, that was my original kind of calling. So I went in, international studies at my school was basically the requirements of political science and economics and history. And you picked a country of concentration, and my country was Germany. That's what I focused on. So you did all of these, the coursework for this stuff, but then you also had to, you know, you took electives, right? Most liberal arts colleges will have you do other things. So I decided to take a computer science class because, you know, computers were always really interesting to me. And so I was like, all right, let me try this again. I take the class and I end up dropping the class after 3 weeks because it just it made no sense to me. And it's interesting going back to this application rule, right? We were in this class and we were being taught in what's called a dead language. And basically a dead language is something where they're using it to teach you the concepts, but it's not something that would ever be used commercially. So I wasn't learning something like Java or C++ or JavaScript. I was just learning this academic language that didn't mean anything. And like the realization that I could not apply this to anything else just made me go, this is not for me. So I ended up leaving that class. I mean, I wish I could find that professor now because I would love to tell him what I do for a living. And so that's okay. Understood. Does not work for me. I needed to do something else. So I ended up spending my time figuring out how to make foreign policy. In the time that I was in that major, one of the things that I got to do was I got to live in Bremen, Germany, which is this like a little downtown area here on the left. And I spent my entire junior year there. And then when I came back from college and graduated, I actually went to Okinawa, Japan, and I lived for a year there. And so the reason I have these kind of two spots here is I think like lesson number 2 was having a major like international studies where it was very interdisciplinary and you got to learn about a lot of different things really taught me the skill of being able to take a lot of disparate information, you know, and be able to like make that make sense, you know. And so I feel like I'm actually a better engineer because I had that experience. And where the international travel comes in is just that, you know, you like the tech field is really global. And I think actually the job that I ended up getting at Amazon, a part of why I got that job is because I had spent enough like time outside of the country. And so it had a lot of experience working with people from a lot of different cultures. And so all of these things, while they weren't like straight computer science education, were really crucial to kind of my success. All right, what's the next slide? So now we're getting into the how I got into STEM. So When I was in Japan, the year that I was there, I ended up getting a job at AT&T Japan. And the reason I ended up getting that job is I was one of the few people on the entire island who knew what the internet was. So it's hard to believe that there was a world before the internet. But before 1996, there were not a lot of people in other countries who knew what the internet was. And so I ended up getting this job working in this quote unquote cyber cafe, because that's what everyone used to call it, cyber. And I met this very young 17-year-old hacker, which I like to say, I like to imagine he looked like this. He did not look like this, but he definitely had that expression where when we met, and he was very keen on showing me kind of all of the dark arts of the internet. And so some of the things I learned from him were HTML. I'm not sure if any of you know what HTML is. It stands for Hypertext Markup Language. If you go to a browser on your, any web browser, and you view the source, this is the markup language that you will see. It's basically how web pages are built. So he taught me that. He taught me about things called FTP, which stands for File Transfer Protocol. Most of getting files off of your machines into the cloud, like a lot of that stuff is done through things like FTP and transferring files across WANs. I won't get it. I'm getting into the weeds. I'll get out of the weeds, but there. And then the most important life-changing thing that he introduced me to was pirated software. I'm sure none of you have ever encountered pirated software, but at that time in my life, I did not know that there were people who spent time trying to break encryption of software so that they could use it without paying for it. And I found that fascinating. Full disclosure, I never learned how to pirate software, but the fact that existed was once again the application for me. Oh, if I learn how to do this, I can do that, And so that was like kind of the key that I was missing when I had, in college taking this coding class, and I didn't quite understand why I was doing this. And I'm like, here's an actual reason to do this. Now there's many reasons, but this was the first one that kind of hooked me. And so after that, I basically hit the books, and I came back from Japan. I got a job working in a marketing role, and I spent all my spare time basically trying to learn how to code. For me, I'm definitely a builder. I need to make things, right? That's how I learn. So reading and then building, right, is kind of how I did it. And so I spent enough time doing that. And after, about 6 or 7 months, I had learned enough that I could get a job doing it. So this job, the first one didn't pay well, but it definitely got my foot in the door. If you have a choice between, doing this and getting the education for a STEM degree versus doing it kind of the way I did it, you should definitely do it that way. It's a lot faster and a little easier, but it's still possible without that. So a part of why I wanted to move into STEM at this point was it kind of solved, like it ticked a couple boxes for me. One is it really allowed me to make things. I'm a maker, I'm a builder, I'm a musician. I compose. When I lived in Seattle, I played, except for the showbox, that's the only, I've played the tractor, I've played Numos, I've played the Mars. Like I'm a very big music person, very big music performer, and I love creating things. And so software gave me a way to create things, right? It wasn't music, but I could still build something. I really love learning. And the beauty, I think in one of the interest slides, I thought I saw where it's kind of like this kind of continuing ongoing learning, and being in STEM has allowed me to keep tickling that part of my brain. And then last and not least, and I definitely don't want to downplay it, but it does pay really well. I enjoy my toys, and I like, financial security was very important to me. I didn't want to be in a situation where I felt like I had to worry about money. You know, I single parent mom, my mom is awesome. My dad's awesome. Everyone's awesome, but I did watch them kind of really stress out about money. And I just was like, this is not, I need to get a job where I don't have to stress out about money. So, so after I got this role. It was really great. I was there for about a year and a half. I learned as much as I could possibly learn. And then I moved on to my second role where I kind of found my second set of mentors. I was trying to find a good image for like mentoring. There's not really good ones, but I loved this one because this is really what it kind of ends up being, right? Someone helping you get a leg up. In most of my early career, I was fortunate to meet people who um, who felt I was smart and invested in me and really, you know, helped me leapfrog over the lack of formal computer science education that I had. And so, in my second role, there was a couple software engineers who really appreciated how curious I was about things, and so they would like set up little like shell environments so that I could go in and practice coding. Right. So I eventually got good enough at that I ended up moving on to another role. And oops, where did that go? Oh, I went too fast. Okay. And I ended up moving up to I moved into another job where I once again like met someone else who said, hey, we're going to invest in growing you as an engineer, and took on bigger and brighter things. This was probably maybe about 3 or 4 years into my career. And after that point, I decided kind of on a whim to move to Seattle, where I then ended up at Amazon. And I spent 7 years at Amazon, from 2002 to 2009. I put PacMed up here because that's where they were when I was there. I left before all of the stuff in Bell. That was actually kind of my joke, that I needed to leave before that construction was built, because then it meant I was there too long. But I had worked in PacMed for a couple of years, and then I'd also worked in Bayou Ajabai and US 1 and 2. I'd worked in both of those buildings. Amazon was a trip. I'll just say that. I'm not sure what everyone's opinions about it, but you know, when I was there was about 5,000 corporate people, right? When I left the company, it was about 14,000 people, and now it's, I don't know, 1 million. I have no idea. So it was definitely a lot bigger. So my key takeaways that I really wanted to share with you all was basically, however you get into this field, should you get into this field, the one is understanding how you learn, and you know, being okay with that and not letting anyone tell you that that's not okay, right? For me, the application of concepts, being able to literally take a concept and put it into action, is what allowed things for me to stick. And anytime I'm learning when it's not like that, it just doesn't work as well. I also think it's really important to kind of cultivate relationships with mentors and sponsors. You just have no idea what person you talk to one day, you know, might be instrumental in helping you kind of move on to the next step. I know it's still really early for you all, but you know, people come into your lives at different times, and you know, being able to like give like honor those relationships are really helpful. And then the biggest one is that there's more than, you know, one way through the door. My grandmother used to tell me, don't let anyone tell you what you can and can't do. And I just totally live by that mantra. And you know, you never know, you might surprise yourself. So that's a bit of my journey.
We are ready for another question.
All right, we have one question from Enrique.
All right. When is the next season of Demon Slayer going to be out on Netflix? That's the real question that we should all be asking.
You know, it's actually funny. There is a way to find that stuff out. There are staging servers. I never put myself into a staging server because I don't really have time for that. But you can actually, that stuff is open to employees. You can actually go and see. I have seen certain like I'm trying to think, not Stranger Things. Well, I'm trying to think what is. Maybe it was Black Mirror. Like I think the last season of Black Mirror, I actually did watch the work prints of the first couple episodes, and then I realized it wasn't all gonna be really. I was like, I'll just wait for release. This is too much. This is too much effort. So I don't know when it's coming, but I'll let you know if I find out something ahead of time. We do actually get access to in our accounts. We get a preview, so when things are they're not released yet, but they're going to be coming and they're basically ready to release, we get them ahead of time. So it could be a week ahead of time, it could be a month ahead of time. It just kind of depends. So I'll let everyone over here know so they can let you know. Oh, I see there's a question in the chat. What is this?
Yep. It's the question from 3 students. They're together. Their question
Okay.
is, what's your favorite part about your job? Do you see yourself still working with it for much longer?
Yeah. What is my favorite part about my job? I think there's two things I really like, both probably equally important. I really like, because I mentioned before, I really like building things. And so by managing instead of actually building it myself, I basically increase my impact, right? So instead of just me building something, I have 13, 14, 15, 20 people building something. And I get to take a big part in like making sure all of that happens. And so I really enjoy being able to have real impact and know that the thing that I did that day, like contributed this much kind of to the bottom line, right? And so that's nice. Like I don't tend to work well in roles where I don't understand the purpose of me being there. So I like that. The other thing is I really like growing people. I feel really strongly that so much of my success has been because people invested in me. And so I want to invest in other people. And so I don't just do that with my engineers. I do that with engineers that I don't manage. I do that with junior leaders who are just becoming managers. Like I really like being in a position where I can build high performing teams and grow them into whatever they want to be. So like I really enjoy that. Do I see myself working in it much longer? Yes, I do, but I don't see myself being a manager much longer. I think I want to move up into a director role. And so a director role is basically you're like a manager of managers, right? So instead of managing one team, I would manage managers who manage a team. So that's kind of where I'm going next is, being able to have more business impact by having more people. So yeah.
Great. Another question we have is from Zara. She's asking, what would you say to younger people who want to get into coding as a career?
Oh, God, there's so much I would say. There's so much.
It's okay, we got time.
Yeah, I think I guess so. The reason I pause here is I think it's a great career. Okay, I hands down. I kind of fell into it, but I'm really glad that I got into it. And a part of why I'm happy is like that's for the things I mentioned before. I like building things. I like having impact. I like making money, of course, but I also like feeling like it's really clear what I need to do. Like I like that, right? Like it's as opposed to kind of like when I was working my first job out of college and I did like a marketing role where it's like, what does success look like there? Like, how do I know I'm a good marketer, right? But I know I'm a good coder, right? It's the things that I do end up in production and I really enjoy that. And so I think, what I would say is, you have a lot of time to learn your craft. The well is deep and you don't have to feel like take your time. I feel like I work with a lot of engineers who, either they go to school or they go to a boot camp or they're self-taught like me and they come out and they're just like, okay, I need to know everything like tomorrow. And I'm like, you can't possibly know everything by tomorrow. Just, take a breath, take your time, learn your craft, figure out the things that motivate you, figure out the things that you like building, right? So I've worked all over the stack, as we call it, right? So I've done front end, I've done middle, kind of business logic, billing, payments, that stuff. And I've done back end server management. And, it took me like a good 8 years to realize I only wanted to work in the UI. Like I didn't want to do any of that other stuff just because it wasn't interesting to me. And so taking the time, figuring out what you like, and not feeling pressured to just like go. And the other thing I was going to say, just from the financial aspect, like it comes with experience. Like there's no way of shortcutting that, right? So the more you learn, the more time you spend, the more you get good at your craft, the easier it is to keep asking for more money. Sorry to be mercenary about that, but that's just, there's no shortcut to that. Get good at your job.
Yeah. We are ready for in-person questions.
All right, we have one more question. You want me to again?
DZs. Do you make shows on Netflix?
Do I make shows on Netflix? Is that the question? I'm sorry, I didn't quite get that.
Can you please repeat?
I said, do you make shows on Netflix? Do you make shows
Okay.
on Netflix?
I don't personally make them, but I do build software for people who do make them. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, they can hear you.
Oh, they can
They
hear me?
just, we have to mute the thing so that you can talk.
Oh, okay. My question was like, what features have you like tried to engineer for Netflix or like, yeah.
What features have I tried to engineer for Netflix? I think a lot of the stuff that I've done, you probably, you maybe have seen it, but probably haven't. So I think one of the biggest things that we did was the whole, before 2017, basically if you wanted to sign up for Netflix, you had to come to the site to do that. And then we basically ended up doing a partnership deal we started first with T-Mobile. So they had like a thing where, hey, sign up for T-Mobile and you get free Netflix for 3 months or what have you. So that was the first guinea pig. And then eventually we ended up rolling out a sign up flow onto the Comcast set-top box. So like today, if you want to sign up for Netflix through Comcast, you can just do that through their X1 box. So the first team that I worked on here, we built out all of those flows. So that would enable different operators globally across the world, basically, to be able to allow customers to sign up for Netflix by going through these, like, they were called like partner payment flows. And so I worked on the non-member side is what it's called. And I think on we have some stuff on the member side, but I don't think that you would see any of that unless you're the one paying for the Netflix. Your parents are probably saying that, that stuff. And then on the animation side, yeah, that's all kind of in-house. So that's a more internal facing audience as opposed to external. So you probably wouldn't see any of that stuff. I can tell you one of the things that we built there that's pretty cool was we created this plugin that works along with Pro Tools. I'm not sure if you know what Pro Tools is, but it's a audio recording. It's like basically the most common professional audio recording software. And this tool that we built would allow sound, like recording engineers. So they do an animated feature, you finish building out the whole thing, and now you have to record the actors' performances. And so we built a plugin that allowed them to do this in real time. Because what would normally happen is you'd have a script, the recording engineer would have a script, the actor would have a script, and then basically they're following along on the script. They're annotating if the actors did any sort of ad libs or anything like that. So they're constantly changing the script in real time, but manually. And so we created a plugin that allowed them that would ingest the script itself, show it up on a screen, and then as the actor was talking, it was actually recording and transcribing everything that they were recording, so that they didn't have to go back in and manually put it back in the script. It sounds like kind of crazy, but when you see it in motion, it's really cool. It's like a really cool thing that we built.
We are ready for our next question, Inovi.
What is one thing you love about behind the scenes of Netflix, I guess?
I think it's you know, I'm a big movie person. I've always loved movies, and like since I was a kid, and I never thought I would work for a movie studio. like it's just like, you know, like I never, like every time I go to LA, when I go to the LA office, because now that I'm working on the studio side, I go to LA pretty frequently. And it's like you're walking on a lot, and you're just like, someone will be like, "Oh, the Obamas were here yesterday," or like, you know, or like Will Ferrell. And you're like, what? Like it's just like, it's kind of neat to be kind of close to like, you know, actively how movies are made, right? I think that's really cool. I don't know that I would actually ever do it again. Like the studio side itself is pretty stressful, but I think it's just such a unique, like kind of once in a lifetime experience. I would not have thought software would have brought me here. I think in one of the other slides we were talking about the more non-traditional things that you know software engineers or coding can do for you. Like I would not have imagined when I was building, you know, UI for Amazon in 2002 that one day I would be, you know, working on tooling for animated features. So like that's pretty cool. Like I like that. I like the reach. I think that's the cool part. It's funny watching it's funny watching her like super animated and
Describe behind describe behind the scenes of Netflix in one word.
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Describe behind the scenes
of Netflix in one word.
Yeah, how would you describe Netflix behind the streams in one word?
Netflix behind the streams in one word. Ooh. Oh gosh, really? That's you gonna do me like that? Vibrant. I will leave you to figure out what that means. Is it sunny there today? Can I ask y'all a question?
You didn't already say.
Oh yeah. I've worked for Netflix for almost 6 years. So August will be 6 years. 2016, August of 2016, I left Seattle and moved to the Bay Area to work for Netflix.
Your name?
Okay, hi, my name is Nobel, and out of all the Netflix like like movies, shows? What's your like favorite ones?
Oh, I think, yeah, that's a good one. I think as far as shows are concerned, and there's been some really good ones, but I think the one that's like honestly the most consistently good has been Stranger Things. I really kind of got sucked pretty hardcore into that. I've actually, it's one of the and Russian Doll. I don't know about season 2. I'm still on the fence on that one, but the first one's so good. I have not finished Squid Game. None of you should have seen that. If you had, that's don't watch that. I've not finished. I was very upset. It was very intense. But yeah, I guess I would say probably Stranger Things. As far as movies, I don't know if I have a favorite one. Um, I find the content a bit. We have so much of it now that it's a bit hit or miss. It's like it's either really exceptional or it's just straight trash. Let's just be honest. I'm not like trying to be like, okay, this is so good, and then you're like, what is this show? Why is this show here? So other ones I think I really liked. I liked the Chef Show. I don't know if you've seen that with Jon Favreau and with Roy Choi. That's really fun one to watch. If I like cooking, so I enjoy that kind of thing. Yeah, I guess that's it. What is your favorites? Do you guys have favorites?
All right, so for movies, we'll mute that. All right. So for movies, let's see. They didn't add that onto Netflix. Let's see. I'll just go with The Silent Voice, I guess.
Hey.
Okay. Have you guys did another one? Have you seen Love, Death, and Robots?
What did you ask?
Has anyone seen Love, Death, and Robots? Okay, it's an animated that one I know is coming. That one I know is coming soon, so I'm excited. The second season. Let me see the Silent Voices. I have to look this one up because Okay. I'll have to check this one out.
Questions. How do you guys collab with Netflix and Steam?
How do we collab? Is that what you said?
Oh, she means like with the Star Tech company. Like, yeah, it's how to form the workshop. How do you combine it? Yeah.
Oh, this might be an Adrian question.
It might be, yeah. Well, we reached out to Netflix and Netflix reached right back and said that they had some people, some diverse speakers, some hardworking engineers behind the streams that were interested in telling their story. And when we reached out to them, we were asking to hear their story and to tell us how they got to where they are so they could share their pathway with you. And so that you could be inspired and hopefully sign up for one of our mentorship programs and get on a pathway that interests you in STEAM.
Yeah, and one of the our Netflix representative, Kabi, is a Seattle native. So when she pinged me, and because I think so. I don't know if you guys were here for Marvin. Marvin also grew up in Seattle. Who else is speaking? I think the other two speakers. I think two of us have Seattle kind of roots in some way, and two don't. But yeah, when Kabi asked, I was like, of course. And then hearing that it was Seattle, I was like, absolutely. I want to, if I can come in and encourage or influence any of you in any way, that would be awesome. When I started in tech in 1997, 98, 99, 99. You know, there were not, it was me. That was it. Like, it took like a good 2 decades before I met another Black female engineering leader, right? And you know, when I worked at Amazon, the first 5 years I was in Amazon, I was the only Black female engineer in the entire company. And so it's been crazy to have this journey, like from 1997 to 2022, where, you know, there's tons of there's Black leaders, Black directors, Black managers, and so there needs to be more of us, you know, in this field.
All right. What's your opinion on Netflix and chill?
I'm like, do I answer the meme definition of that, or do I answer the literal? But what do you mean when you say that? Like, just binging, or what?
You know what I mean.
Oh,
This is a family space. This is a safe space. Like, I'm no comment. I'm staying out of that one.
Sounds good.
That's hilarious. Oh, you are recording this. I love that. I was like, I gotta share that with some people.
say your name and ask your question.
What's your guys' favorite movie?
Oh, I
in
knew you
Net-
guys.
What's your guys' favorite movie in Netflix?
Oh. You know, it's funny. So to be fair, I've been a Netflix subscriber since 2002. So in October 2002, when there were still DVDs being shipped to you, that's when I joined Netflix. So I'm trying to think about what is my favorite movie over the last 20 years in Netflix. I can't think that. I don't know, but I will say the most recent favorite movie I'd probably say is The Power of the Dog. I think it was really, really good. I don't know if any of y'all would like that. It's very slow moving, a lot of subtext, but I thought it was pretty exceptional. And it should have won Best Picture. I liked Coda, don't get me wrong, but Power of the Dog was such a better movie. So. I should tell you too, I'll share this with you. I also have the ability to jump catalogs. So right now my main profile is in the US, but I will sometimes put myself in like Brazil or Japan or Australia or whatever. If there's a movie I want to see and we don't have it in the US, I can just put my profile into another country and look at there's a nice perk of the Netflix behind the scenes is, you know, when people tell me I've watched all of Netflix, I'm like, you haven't. You just can't get access to the other stuff. But there's a ton.
Great. So it's about 10 minutes before we want to wrap up. So let's go ahead and answer one more question briefly, and then we can move on to our mentorship program and then the exit survey. One more question, guys, make it big.
Do you know or do you work closely with the creators of Netflix?
I work closely with the animators, like that side, because I'm in animation. So what we would call live action, or like, the things that we were talking about, kind of those movies, feature films, like that sort of stuff. I don't work with any of them at all. But on the animated side, yeah, we build tools for different series, or and we work pretty closely with artists directly. So like one of the things that my team built is a tool that helps basically onboard talent to different productions. So let's say if we have an artist who's been working on, like, I don't know, BoJack Horseman, and their their contract's going to be up soon, but we want to keep them kind of working on Netflix productions, they would go through this tool where they could get matched with another animated feature. And so, like, to basically keep them in house. But what we end up doing with those artists is basically like testing the software with them. We do a thing called UAT, user acceptance testing, where they would work with it that way. So that's normally how we work with them.
How many places in the world have Netflix?
Oh, Netflix is everywhere. I mean, like every country with the exception of Russia, because we just pulled out. And I don't believe China. I think those are the only two spots where there's no Netflix.
Great. Thank you so much, Tara, for answering our questions.
Different regions of the world have different things on Netflix, like different TV shows and stuff?
Yeah, I'll just answer this fast. Yes, they do. And that's mostly due to licensing. It's kind of crazy when you hop across the catalogs, where you'll see there's a show that's on an American TV, and then but it can't be shown to Netflix, but it's shown on Netflix in like the UK. You're like, what the, I don't like, and it's because the studio basically didn't license it in the US, but they licensed it, let's say, in the UK for Netflix. So yeah, all of the countries, Netflix original shows are everywhere, but anything that's licensed is different depending on what country and what contracts were signed and what have you. So you can have a completely different experience if you're watching something in Mexico versus watching something in Germany versus watching something in the US.
Great. It seems like that was our last question for today. Last call if anyone have any questions. Okay, it seems like they're good. Thanks again, Tara, for answering all our questions. We learned a lot today from you.
Thank you. It was really great. I appreciate it.
So now we'll move on to our mentorship program. So mentors can not only advise you on your education and career pathways, but they can also be job references and write letter of recommendation. So are you guys interested in a mentor? Don't miss out. Let us know in the survey and we will have your mentor reach out to you via email. I will paste the link into the chat box for the survey. Note that the link is case sensitive, so must be lowercase. So we promised you $25 Amazon gift cards after completing the workshop. To get the $25 gift card and also get matched with mentors, please use this link to take the exit survey. Survey only takes a few minutes Make sure to enter the link all lowercase. Kiara and Enovi are there to help you for the in-person students. Once you see the confirmation screen on the survey, then you're done. You can go ahead and exit the meeting. Don't forget to check out steamdiscoveryproject.org for more workshop every Wednesday through May 25th. The survey link is also posted there. And finally, see our online resource guide. Thank you so much for coming. Hope you all have really great rest of the evening.